sermon by Jen Koch, Genesis 1, A Circumflex, Euros verses about creation of man, October 20th, 1968. What qualities should a good dog have? If you were to point out a good dog, what would he be like? Undoubtedly, a good dog would be one who serves the purposes of his master, one who fits a man's expectations. He would probably be obedient, housebroken, clean, friendly. That might be what we'd call a good dog, but we really do not know what a truly good dog is. For all we know, a truly good dog is one most capable of killing. Our definition of a good dog is really a definition of a man. So when we see a good dog, we really see something about people. A dog reflects his master. A good dog is one who fits closely his master's purposes. His goodness really consists of human virtues. Well, what is a good man? Everyone may have some sort of answer to the question, but for many, if you push them far enough, they will say you can't really talk about good and bad men. All we are able to do is define some conditions under which mankind seems best to survive and improve his comforts, and to the extent to which men fit those conditions, we can say they are good or bad. So we usually define a good man as one who doesn't threaten us with pain or violence. It is often the way he goes about things that makes him good or bad. An armed robber who deals in at most thousands of dollars is bad. But an organization that dupes the public by dishonest techniques can still be made up of good men. A rapist is bad, but a Don Juan who loves them and leaves them is still good. If you go nude to protest a sick society, you're bad. But if you merely have a secret affair now, and then you can still be good. It is really techniques that prisons are full of bad men. The good men are on the outside. The truth is that the bad men really are just more honest and open in their crimes. Stupid, really. They could get more and better of all they are after and still be acceptable in society. Good men, if they would just refine their techniques. The point is society cannot give us a satisfactory definition of a good man. Society is so sick itself, how can it tell us who is and who is not good? The first chapter of Genesis states that man was created in the image of God and that he was very good. He was put in charge of the earth and all that is related to its life. He was told to care for it, control it, bring it under submission. He was to spread out over the earth and populate it. He was to extend the garden-like qualities of his early home to all the earth. Now there is a sense in which he does, even to this day, continue to work out this mandate, using his intellectual powers, his rational nature, exercising his freedom with a certain degree of concern for his fellow man. He is studying and developing and discovering and controlling the earth as intended to some extent. There is a sense in which the space projects are consistent with what seems to be God's intent for man, the cultivation of desert lands through irrigation projects, the forecasting of weather conditions, the development of vaccines and medical skills, the distribution of food and clothing through improved commercial conditions and industrial achievements in transportation, engineering, and business, the working out of governments and laws. All these things do fit the original understanding of man about what he is to do. He is to subdue the earth and replenish it. So there is something about man that is still like it was supposed to be. Something about the way he was created that is not totally lost. But is he good? It was called good. Can we still say he is good? Very good. Again, remember how we define a good dog. He is good if he reflects his master's purposes and ideas for him. If looking at the dog, you get an idea of the man who owns him. So with man, he was good because he was created, as it says, in the image of God. All that he was told to do follow the fact of his being created to reflect God. Man was made as a model of God, and everything he was to do on this earth was to be done as a model of God. And he was called good because he was a fully adequate model. He was capable of living and working in the world, populating it, organizing it, developing it, cultivating it, and in every aspect or Euros all the time he would be pointing beyond himself to God. Now think of people in this world today. Are they good? Are they bad? Perhaps a good way of asking the question is, are they good models? Is there a quality in them or about them that points beyond them to something greater? Is there a quality about their motivations and actions that suggests, perhaps in a hard-to-put-your-finger-on sort of way, that there is some mystery about the way they are? You can't explain them by the usual rules. There is something about them that doesn't make sense. That isn't like what we would expect. Is there something that points beyond themselves to leave man with only the answer that God is something like that? That is what it means to be created in the image of God, to be a model of God, that looking at you I can say, oh, now I know something more about what God is like. And the question of being a good or bad man is answered in that way. The question of whether we can speak of men as bad or good at all requires a standard, and the standard is, does he as a model show others unmistakably something about God? A model is never identical to the thing itself. A model airplane is so different from the actual plane. It is made of different materials, different size, different capabilities, different in practically every important way. but you can get a good idea about the actual plane from the model. A good model will certainly enable you to recognize the real thing, and before you see the real thing, you will know something about the real thing. Again, the answer to man, is he good or bad, is found on that level. Has he, as originally, still the capacity to be an adequate model of God? Is there a quality in yourself, or in anyone you know, or in anyone a quality that speaks about something more than yourself, that goes beyond all the human, psychological, physiological, sociological explanations and suggests God? For the most part, the answer is no. We are models at best of other human beings. We suggest to those we meet at love and work with just another creature trying in his own way to get up the ladder or to be popular or comfortable or make a living. At worst, we may be, as Jesus said to one group, your models of something demonic. You reflect in your lives a mystery beyond yourselves, which is evil. You're the devil. And that seems close to the character of so much of our residual use of the image of God in us. That little bit that is left that is like God. Our intelligence, our freedom, our wills, which we use and name at least to subdue and develop the earth, is used so far from reflecting God. It may be right for us to explore space here, Euros, but we do it mostly to promote ourselves. It may be right to cultivate and irrigate the deserts of Euros, but are we feeding the world as we might with new agriculture? It may be right to save and preserve lives for Euros, but for meaningless additional years. It may be right to have poverty programs and Head Start schools to Euros, but Head Start to nowhere. It may be consistent with God's image in us to develop natural results to Euros, but when we pollute and waste what we already have, it is right for us to get education, but education for what? To build up our vanity? It seems fairly obvious, if we accept the authority of the Bible as our starting point, that there is very little about us that we can say it's a good model of what God is like. God created and gave IT to us to use to reflect in him. We are supposed to continue his creative ways likewise to make the world a better place for God's children. Instead, we are self-centered, oriented toward our comfort, our prosperity, our economy, our health. Very definitely ungodly, models of aggressive, complacent, self-seeking creatures. Well, the point of the sermon is made. Man is not a model of God. Looking at me, anyone cannot say, I think I know now a little better what God is like. The point of the sermon is made. Let me add this, as far as I know, there is only one person about whom we read sentences, quotes, made by persons who knew human Euros, quotes, like this. And when the centurion at Jesus' death saw what was done, he glorified God, saying, certainly this was a righteous man. Luke chapter 23, verse 47, Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. My Lord and my God, there was one who, seeing him, you saw God, and he restored the possibility of men seeing God in other people. He made it possible that we can be models again, models which, when experienced by other people, will in fact help them to know something about God. Because after he lived and died showing us God's love, and then lived again, he promised to send to his friends his personality. My holy personality will be with you. But that's another story.